Hi, I'm John Craven with BevNET, and we're here at Expo East 2015, and I'm with Paolo Hawken from REBBL. Thanks for joining me, Paolo.
Absolutely.
So this is your first Expo East, right?
It is indeed, yes.
And you guys are kind of right in the middle of a capital raise. Can you give us a little just insight on where that's at and all?
Sure. We're, a friends and family funded company so far. We're just a little over 2 years old, and we're at that revenue stage and that kind of validation point in terms of velocities and distribution, where we feel like putting some serious, institutional money and some strategic money in the company is the right thing to do. So.
And where can you, I guess, as far as distribution points, like you guys are in Whole Foods, like where else is the product currently distributed?
Yeah, we're probably in all 50 states as of, a couple weeks ago. We're only in 6 regions of Whole Foods, but we're in all the unified DCs, and we plan on being in all the regions of Whole Foods by around February or so of 2016. So.
And the product itself is kind of all about plant-based nutrition, right? We've talked a little bit about that. Is that something that at this point, you feel as though is gaining traction? Tell us a little bit about that too.
Yeah. Well, we like the concept of powered by plants from a number of angles, and some are about future products that I won't get into here, but our basic thesis with the company is that the world's most healthy ingredients, sort of the ultimate herbal ingredients, don't have to taste bad. They don't have to be in the supplement aisle. They can taste incredible. They can taste as good as your favorite junk food if you formulate with them right. And we feel like the only way these ingredients are making their way into the daily lives of the everyday person is to make them really convenient and really tasty. And no one's doing it yet, and we feel like it's a meaningful niche to build into. And we think it's going to be something really significant in the near future.
So it's really, I guess, about, just striking that balance of making me want to come back and drink it every day.
Exactly.
And providing that functionality. Now, that being said, you guys have kind of a variety of different products. Some of them have, you recently launched like matcha, for example.
Yep.
Which is a little more of a mainstream ingredient than some of the others. Like, how do you decide, which ingredients to put out there and which are ready for prime time?
Yeah. Well, we clearly don't do any market testing at this stage. This is
just put it out there and see what sticks.
This is an intuitive-based, development and rollout strategy. But what I like and what really gets me excited is when an ingredient has a deep, multi-thousand-year cultural history of cultural validation. Most of these ingredients that do have that level of validation are starting to have the scientific validation to support the historical and cultural use. So I'm not interested in ingredients that have just come out of left field and have only been part of sort of the dietary system for the last year or 5 or even 10 years. I want ingredients that are extremely popular, are validated in terms of need states, complex formulas that work for people all over the world, but haven't quite made their way into the United States or North American, kind of taste profiles, expectations, and markets.
And is some of that, a business decision too, in that I assume it's easier to market a product that has something with some history versus, we see brands all the time that have some ingredient that is so new.
Yeah.
I mean, is that part of it?
Yeah, and it's a philosophical approach too about, do you isolate something in some plant that the human body never really had a chance to evolve in the presence of in its isolated form, in this modern chemistry world, or do you offer the human body something that it's been evolving and co-evolving with over a long period of time? We feel like philosophically it's more interesting to introduce ingredients that have a relationship with human evolution. And that's just not the case when you take ingredients and you strip out 98% of the compounds in them and just leave one and say, this is your functional component of this plant. Mm-hmm. We don't believe that approach to health is holistic enough to take into account the complexity of what plants provide nutritionally.
And as far as the flavors, I mean, that too, you have, something you recently launched, a cold brew coffee, for example, which is, certainly timely, very marketable. Again, something like matcha.
Yeah.
where do you guys look in terms of, the flavors that you're launching? Are you looking at sort of what's trending?
Yes, and here's the important part about this brand is there's no way we could launch products that just focused on an herb like reishi or ashwagandha or even maca and just said, hey, this is a maca beverage.
Mm-hmm.
We have to have one foot in the known, one foot in the unknown to bring people and draw them towards this world that is got a halo of health around it, but it doesn't necessarily have a clear definition yet.
Mm-hmm.
So to do that, we need to deliver flavor profiles and touch people's just their the cravings, the palates that they have today. Chocolate, maca, mocha, even matcha and turmeric to now are becoming common flavor profiles.
Sure.
To take those as bases and then deliver a functional ingredient on top, I think is our way of just acknowledging you have to meet people where they are and then bring them one step forward into the kind of mystery and the unknown of the world we're trying to bring, kind of sort of out of the shadows.
And last thing, I guess, getting back to the company's roots, this was sort of always, even when it was introduced as kind of a cause, marketing type company.
Sure.
Or based company. How is that kind of, part of the mix now? Has that evolved at all? Is it still, really the mission behind it?
Yes. First, I think it's so important that any company, even in this, natural products expo space, really try to understand the roots of their supply chain. There's so much opacity, so much not known for many of these companies about where their ingredients come from, who's actually making them, who's benefiting and who's not. And we feel like there's not enough value placed at the primary producer level. The indigenous people in many cases that are wild harvesting or growing the kinds of ingredients we're using. So as a kind of conceptual point of departure, as a brand holder, we feel like knowing who's growing your products, understanding what they go through to do it, and then making them a more integral part of the value chain is just the right thing to do. So we do that in partnership with Not for Sale. They're a nonprofit that works to end modern-day slavery and forced labor. And what they do with us is something that no other nonprofit really can do effectively, which is to analyze our supply chain from that perspective. What are the policies of all of the brokers involved or all of the handlers of these ingredients between us and the source? And what are those policies? How are they enforced? How transparent are they with their policies? And to put together an audit, on every ingredient we produce. So it's a great partnership. Fair trade is great, organic is great. There isn't really a certifying body or place to go to understand the social impact of your business in terms of a supply chain. So we're sort of innovating that with them. It's a learning process for both. But we think it's part of the future of business in general.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, I think transparency is kind of something that's going to continue to be a part of it. So awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time and for sharing the story of this. So and hope you have a great rest of the show.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it so much.
Thanks.